Okay. Everyone may be seated. Court is now in session in cause numbers M332608 and cause number M332610. Both cases are style, the state of Texas versus the Sudden Surprise Stevens. Let the record reflect that Ms. Stevens is present in court with her attorney Bruce Cobb. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorneys, Attorney Erica Porter and Attorney Kobe Hoffbauer. And let the record reflect that the jury is now present in the courtroom. State, are you ready?
Thanks, ready.
Defense, are you ready? Okay. Miss,
Good. The state's ready. We're waiting on Howard to slow so we can pull up the information for the state. Both of them.
okay, well, okay.
We're waiting. Let's do it.
Let's see. I'm on, I might be able to.
If you can print the, if
That's
I can
gonna be
pull it, I
fun.
can print it here. No more.
Yeah, okay, I got to maybe able to print it from here.
There's two of them.
Yes. Yeah, maybe. Says, right.
We'll find it. Yeah, you're off today. Right here.
Let's see if it comes out here first.
Check it out.
That's, I'm gonna print another one too for the next case.
Six one zero is, we print another one. It'll come out here.
Which one was that?
332610.
Okay,
I just need the other one.
okay, I'm printing it now.
Okay, but wait, is that what's behind it? No,
Was in a plastic bag.
look at the top, Is that?
No,
right in the middle, yeah, right there, what's that? Yeah, that's it.
okay.
That's only two.
Okay, so we're gonna have to talk to another court to see if they have some. Peter, you ready?
We're ready,
Miss Stevens, could you please stand? And what cause number you gonna
Your
read
Honor, we're
first?
gonna start with the cause number 332608.
Okay, Mr. Hallpower, you may proceed with the reading of the information in cause number M 332-608.
Thank you, Your Honor. Cause number M 332-608, the state of Texas versus La Sudden Surprise Stevens. Information and in the name about the authority of the state of Texas comes now the undersigned Assistant Criminal District Attorney of Jefferson County, Texas, on behalf of the state of Texas, and presents in and to the County Court of Law of Jefferson County, Texas, that in Jefferson County, Texas, La Sudden Surprise Stevens, hereinafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about June 7th, 2022, did then and there unlawfully and recklessly engage in conduct that placed Pamela Ann Hawthorne, hereinafter styled the complainant, in imminent danger of serious bodily injury, namely by pointing a gun at the complainant, against the peace and dignity of the state, signed by the Assistant Criminal District Attorney.
Miss Sudden, Miss La Sudden Surprise Stevens, how do you plead? Not guilty? Okay. State, you may read your next information and cause number M 332-610.
Yes, Your Honor. Cause number M 332-610, the state of Texas versus La Sudden Surprise Stevens. Information in the name and by the authority of the state of Texas comes now the undersigned Assistant Criminal District Attorney of Jefferson County, Texas, on behalf of the state of Texas, and presents in and to the County Court of Law of Jefferson County, Texas, that in Jefferson County, Texas, La Sudden Surprise Stevens, hereinafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about June 7th, 2022, did then and there intentionally and knowingly carry on and about her person a handgun in a motor vehicle that was then and there under the defendant's control, and the defendant was then and there engaged in criminal activity, to wit, deadly conduct, an offense other than a Class C misdemeanor that is a violation of law or ordinance regulating traffic or boating against the peace and dignity of the state, signed by the Assistant Criminal District Attorney.
Ms. Stevens, how do you plead? Not guilty? Okay, you may be seated. State, would you like to make an, Oh.
Would we just note this up really quick?
okay, let me get, Trina, would you come in the courtroom? He has to take it off and put it on. I did? Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Ready now, sir.
Ms. Porter, you may proceed.
Thank you. Again, I'm Attorney Porter. I'm Assistant District Attorney here in Jefferson County. And the style of this case is state of Texas versus La Sudden Stevens. And you already know what you're here for. We talked during board hour. If you look at the screens, again, we're here for deadly conduct and unlawful carrying of weapon. So I'm not going to go through everything, but I am going to hit some of the elements, the things that you can look forward to seeing while you're in trial, while you're sitting in our trial today. Okay. So deadly conduct. A person commits an offense if the person, it's a little slow, but recklessly engages in conduct that places another in imminent danger of serious bodily injury. And it's presumed that an individual acted recklessly and placed another in danger if the actor knowingly pointed a firearm in the direction of another. Unlawfully carrying a weapon. What does that mean? If someone is engaging in a criminal activity other than a Class C misdemeanor, so traffic offenses or anything that falls within the Class C misdemeanor range, that is a violation of a law or ordinance regulating traffic or boating. So if someone is engaging in an activity and commits a crime, you can be charged with unlawful carrying as well. Now, the state believes that we're going to show that the defendant was sudden surprise Stevens on or about June 7, 2022. It was around 10:42 a.m. in Jefferson County, Texas, on 11th Street in that area, if you can kind of picture that, did recklessly engage in conduct that placed Pamela Hawthorne, and that is our victim, in imminent danger of serious bodily injury by pointing a firearm at Ms. Hawthorne. Now, what can you anticipate hearing, and what do you have to look forward to? The state intends to call Ms. Hawthorne, and you'll have an opportunity to hear from her yourself, our victim, how her life, she felt her life was in danger when that gun was pointed at her. You'll also have an opportunity to hear from officers that came to the scene after the act occurred, and they'll be able to testify regarding talking to the victim as well as the defendant. And at the conclusion of all your evidence, after you've heard everything, I'm going to get back up here and I'm going to ask for you to find Ms. Stevens guilty of both crimes of engaging in criminal activity. So she was guilty of unlawfully carrying a weapon as well as deadly conduct. Thank you.
Mr. Cobb, you may proceed.
Just as there are two sides to the coin and two sides of controversy, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please remember that this case starts that the presumption of innocence covers my client just like a cloak. She was worried that, and that we expect that the state must prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt with credible evidence. Whether somebody testifies, that will always make it so. But they must show that their evidence is credible. If for any reason the circumstances appear to you not credible, then please understand my client is presumed innocent. Now, we expect that the evidence will show that before this complaint of incident occurred, my client was in the process of moving her household in the company of her two children to when she encountered the complaining witness. And we expect the evidence to show the complaining witness, among other things, tailgated my client's vehicle by tapping her back bumper. We further expect to show that the complaining witness came to the side of my client's car, asked her to roll down her window, and uttered obscenities to her children in the back. And we also further additionally expect to show that the complaining witness passed my client's car, got in front of my client, and stopped her car by forcing my client to apply her brakes. We further expect to show that my client attempted to talk to the woman when she drove away, when she saw that my client had a gun tucked in her pants. We additionally expect to show that at no time did my client point or wave her weapon at the complaining witness. And we expect to show that my client worried about her, the welfare of her children, was acting on this occasion to protect their welfare and safety and her safety too. Please keep the presumption of innocence and the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt in your minds, and here as you hear evidence in this case. And please understand that that evidence must be credible.
Ms. Porter, you can call your first witness.
State calls Pamela Hawthorne.
Pamela Hawthorne. Ms. Hawthorne, you can come forward. Please come forward. So I can swear you in. Ms. Hawthorne, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Hawthorne, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You may put your hand down. Ms. Hawthorne, you can take the witness stand, you can adjust the chair and the microphone. Ms. Porter, you may proceed.
Could you state the name for your record, please? Could you speak up just a little bit?
You can put the mic in front of you. Yes.
Pamela Hawthorne.
Okay, and how are you presently employed?
I work for CISD,
Okay, and who was your previous employer?
Jefferson County Sheriff's Department,
And how many years did you work for Jefferson County?
20 years.
And on June the 7th, 2022, around 10:42 a.m., where were you traveling?
I was traveling down 11th Street headed to the mall.
And was your trip cut short for some reason?
Yes, I had a lady beside me, radically behind me. And when I looked up, I almost hit another car and she swung around me. And that was right there at HEB and it went.
Okay, and do you recognize the lady that was driving erratically in court today?
Yes, I did.
Okay, could you point to that lady and just identify her with an item of clothing and who she's sitting next to?
She has a tiger stripe shirt on and sitting next to the gentleman I have my identity.
Okay, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Ms. Sutton.
The record will so reflect.
Okay.
You may
And
proceed.
tell me, what lane were you traveling in when you're going down?
I was in the left-hand lane, closest to the turning lane. And I was getting ready to, a lady in front of me was getting ready to turn off of 11th Street into Gateway. And she was going so fast that I had to hurry to swerve out of her way because she was gonna hit me from the back. And she was right up on my tail, and when I swerved out the way, the lady was able to make her turn, and I had to jump in the far right-hand lane.
Okay, the lady that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you, off, but the lady that you were talking about that was trying to turn left is not the defendant, is that
No,
correct?
it's not.
Continue.
And I had to turn and go in the far right-hand lane. And she came up beside the car and she started talking through her window to me. And she was in the left-hand lane, I was in the right-hand lane. And then as we further progressed, we got to Fan, and that's when she raised up a gun.
Okay, let me stop you there. You said that she came up to you in her car, so both of you were in your vehicles at this point.
Right,
Was your window up or down?
mine was up.
And was she on the right-hand side of you or the left-hand side?
She was on the left-hand side of me and I was on the right-hand side of me. And then I raised out my window and I was looking at her and I asked her what was the problem. And that's when she raised up a gun. When she raised up a gun, the light changed, I drove off.
Okay, at that point, when she raised up the gun, did she point it at you at that point?
The first incident, she pointed it at me. The
Okay,
first time I saw the gun, that was on Fannin.
Fannin and 11th Street?
Yes,
Okay, and she pointed it at you, was her window up or your window up?
her window was up, my window was up at that time.
Okay, did you see her mouth moving or
Oh,
anything?
she was saying a lot of stuff. She was pretty erratic.
Okay, were you saying anything back to her at that point?
No, I was trying to dial for the police department and my phone fell on the floor. So I had to go to my car to try to press the numbers in. And as I'm driving, I'm looking at her. And then when I look over, she's behind me again. So I'm like, what's going on now? So she's running up on my bumper and backing off and running up on my bumper again and backing off. So I got over in the far left-hand lane. When I got over in the left-hand lane, she came around me real fast This time we're at Calder Street. We're at Calder Street. She's doing everything she can. She sped off. We get to North Street. I'm behind her again. So before I can get over, cars were there. She gets out of her car. She comes back to the car. And in the travel in between Bannon to Calder, I see her with a gun again.
Okay, at this point, now you're at Calder Street and you're on 11th and Calder, correct? Okay, so did you see her point a gun at you again at that point?
At this time, she's waving the gun.
Okay,
She's waving.
Okay.
She's just waving and I have no idea what she's saying because I'm on the phone with BPD. By the time I made it to Bannon Street, that's when I turned around and here she comes up to the car with just a muscle shirt on and some shorts, and she raised up her shirt and she has the gun and she's drawing her gun. And by this time, BPD is on the phone, I'm on the phone with them and I see a police car. When she sees the police car, she turns around and gets in her car and I get out of my car and start waving them down. And when I'm waving them down, that's when they stop and ask me what happened. I said, this lady just pulled the gun on me and threatened my life.
okay, so let's go back to the first, when you first saw the gun. Immediately, what were you feeling?
I felt like she was gonna kill me, she's gonna take my life.
And what prompted you to call 911?
When I saw the gun, she pointed at me the very first time.
Okay, did you continue to drive after?
And
you
as
saw-
I continued to drive down the street, she just continued to just follow behind my car. She just kept following behind my car, and every time I would get over, she would get over. Then I would get over and try to get behind her. Here she come again. So this was from Gateway and 11th Street all the way to North Street.
Okay, and when, at what point, what intersection were you at when she physically got out, the defendant physically got out of the car and came up to your window? When she came up to your window, was your window down or up?
Up.
Was she talking? Did you remember her mouthing anything to you?
All I remember is seeing a gun and her. I blacked out everything she was saying. I was concentrating on the gun.
Okay, where was the gun at when she was by your window?
Right here in her stomach. She pulled it right here in her stomach area where I can see it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Coach Young.
Yes.
It doesn't make, we're gonna do it on the record for the
What-
floor. And just.
You want to do it outside the president?
Yeah, outside. Well, it doesn't need to be done. We're gonna use demonstrative evidence. We're gonna make sure unless he objects to demonstrative evidence to aid the testimony, meaning Google Earth for a map to aid in the testimony, unless he objects.
Oh,
That's all we want to ask, Joe.
One thing about it too. We're here with Michael approach.
hold on. Let me do this. Wait up. I need to know, is this gonna be outside the presence of the jury that you're getting ready to say or not? Because if so, you'd have the jury step outside and we can take a record.
Maybe we should do that.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, would you please stand and follow the bailiff out into the hallway?
Just walk through.
Yeah, make sure y'all stand.
Judge, box glove for the evidence. We have somebody.
Right here.
Can we use some of that?
You can use all of that.
Thank you, Judge.
You may be seated. Let the record reflect that the court is back in session. And cause numbers M332608 and cause number M332610. Both cases the style of the state of Texas versus the sudden surprise Stevens. Let the record reflect that the defendant is Stevens is present in court with her attorney, Attorney Bruce Cobb. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorneys, Attorney Erica Porter and Attorney Colby Hopfire. Let the record reflect that the jury is now present and seated in the courtroom. State, are you ready?
We're ready.
Defense, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Ms. Porter, you may proceed.
Ms. Harper, I'm gonna call your attention to the screens that behind you. One screen is behind you. You have a corner. Could you point to where you were at when the incident occurred? First incident, when Miss Sutton pulled out a gun and pointed it at you. So is that the map of Jefferson County, Texas that you're looking at? Does it look familiar to you? Okay.
Yeah, this is Gateway right here, so we were right here at the turn of lane to go into Gateway. Right here. This is where it started,
Okay.
right
And
here.
where did you travel to? What direction?
I was going. It's a little too for
Okay, pull it back.
the back. I was headed to the mall right here.
And where would the second incident occur? And Miss Sutton,
Second incident would have occurred at Fannin.
okay. And is that Fannin in that area?
Yes,
And tell me, the last incident when Miss Stevens got out of the vehicle, where were you at?
the last incident was at North Street. Right past St. Elizabeth. And that would have been, go back, we're right. Right here. Right there. On North Street.
Okay, you were still traveling towards I-10 on 11th Street.
Yes, ma'am. I never did turn from my direction of where I was heading.
Okay. All right, and at what point did you see police officers coming down 11th Street?
When she pulled out the gun and was standing at my car window, she was actually standing at my car window with the gun. That's when Officer Hancock and his brother was with him, came around the corner. And I was on the phone with BPD at that time, and I was like, I see a police car coming, and it was like, you can't see one. I said, I see one coming. So she said, flag them down, and I flagged them down anyway. And when they stopped, they asked me what happened. I said, this lady just pulled a gun on me. I said, this is the first time she pulled a gun on me. When I said that, she saw them coming and she heard when she took out front into her car, she jumped in her car and she sped off. And that's when they were able to get behind her.
Okay, and how many officers came to the scene to assist you?
Too.
And would those officers be Officer Hancock and Officer Collins?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you relieved when you saw the officers show up?
I was scared to get out of my car because she was at my window at the time. I was scared. I was terrified to get out of my car. But I got out my car anyway when she sped off, and I had, I was able to compose myself to stop them and talk to them.
We'll turn.
Turn the lights on. Not good, if that's okay.
Yeah, you can turn it back on. Thank you.
Permission to approach.
Yes,
I remember it's been labeled as exhibit number 1. And the contents there. Do you recognize states exhibit number 1? How do you recognize states exhibit number 1? Okay, and when did you first see states exhibit number 1? And the contents there.
I first saw the gun in between 7 and Stag Drive. That's when I first saw it. And then I saw it again as we were driving down to College Street. And then I saw it again when she got out of her car on Mark Street.
So in your understanding, has it been tampered with it anyway?
I'm gonna object to the chain of custody is not the chain.
it's not in evidence.
It's not even been offered to be a part of the chain. To start here with this witness and continue.
Objection overruled. You may proceed.
At any point when the officers pulled you over, well, you were able to flag them down, did they choose to either Officer Hancock or Officer Collins choose to search your vehicle for any reason?
Yes, she stated, to my knowledge, that she told them that I had a gun too. And Officer Hancock came to my car and stated that that's what she stated, did I mind if he searched my car? And I told him he could search my purse and search anything in my car, that I did not have a gun. And that's when they proceeded to start searching my car.
Okay, when they search your vehicle, the officers, they retrieve a gun at all?
No, ma'am.
Did they find any weapons inside of your vehicle?
No, ma'am.
And you voluntarily allowed them to search your vehicle? I'm gonna pass the witness.
Mr. Cobb?
Let me ask you, did you make a statement? Did you have a statement, written statement at all?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I invoke the Gaskin rule.
Okay. I have the, her statement to hand to give to Mr. Cobb.
And for the record, it was previously provided to Mr. Cobb, I'm just giving him an extra copy.
Okay. You may proceed.
May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
And this is your statement, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is that your signature? At the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't give any other statement?
No.
Any other statement? Okay. If I could read to the statement, you said that you were driving down 11th Street, unknown female, tailgating for excessively 2 to 3 miles, would not get away from, I think I'm trying to read. Help me. Sometimes I have a hard time reading people's mind. Bumper, is it bumper? Okay, thank you. And stop at Calder and 11th. She displayed a gun. But previously, she displayed the gun at the intersection of 11th and Fannin Street. Once at 11th and Fannin, she gets out of the car and runs to my window to show me the gun in her pants, asking if she wanted some whatever. And the something he wrote to be.
The police officers were en route or were headed to another call and saw me.
Okay. And that's your statement,
Mhm.
and that's your statement. Okay, thank you. Do you recall whether or not you encountered my client up that near where Jimmy John's is? That's a little bit further up Gateway, the Gateway.
No, I encountered her at Gateway.
Okay. And were you on the right of her window at all?
I was always on her passenger side.
On her passenger side, which would be the right side.
Mhm.
She's on your left side at the time. Did you notice whether or not she had two small children in the car?
Not that she got behind my car.
Okay, she got behind your car. You never saw her. Did you ever get in front of the car?
I got in front of her car when I sped off after the first time she displayed the gun. And that's when she gets behind my bumper again and swings around me in the front and slams on her brakes. And I
Okay.
almost hit her and I had to get from behind my car again and get in the far left-hand lane. And that's when we went all the way down in that lane.
You don't recall whether or not that you basically tapped her back bumper a couple of times?
Sir,
Did you?
no, I did not.
Okay. Did you ever go to her right, just pull out to the left of her and ask her to roll down the window?
I pulled out on the right side of her and I didn't ask her to roll down a window.
You
I
did
never
that?
had the intentions of asking her after she displayed the gun the very first time, so no, and I never tapped her bumper.
Did you also try to pass her up and make her apply her brakes?
No, I passed her up when she showed the gun to me to get away from her, and she came against me again and was on my bumper.
Right. Did you ever try to run after her up
No,
there in Calder? Do you
No, I did
recall
not.
the light changing at Calder? She was in front of you. She basically went past the yellow light. Is that a fact?
no,
And then you went through the red light.
no,
So you're saying that that didn't happen,
exactly.
but did you notice whether or not she had two small children when you did that? When you passed her? You said
I
you
didn't
passed her on
pass
the
her.
right.
I didn't pass, when I
Okay.
passed her, I was not on her right side. When I passed her, I was in the far left-hand lane.
Before left hand, because
Yes.
she was
And then
firmly in the left hand. Now you're in the right, right? She's in the right and now you're on the left. Is that
I'm
correct?
in the left lane.
Okay,
And then she gets behind me and then she comes around me again and gets in front of me. And every time I would try to get over to get from by her, she kept cutting me off.
with cutting you off.
Mhm.
Ah,
She would not let me pass her. If I get over, she would get over.
and you didn't follow her at all, rather than her.
I had no,
She's
no, I
carrying a
didn't.
lot, isn't she? Didn't you notice whether or not she was carrying a lot of belongings with the two children?
Ask and answer.
Objection overruled.
Okay, if you
her
remember,
windows were tinted.
okay, but you say you couldn't see?
I didn't see in her car on the side,
You didn't?
but her side window in the front,
Mhm.
that passenger window, and her front window, I did see her kids, but I had no idea what was in her car.
You didn't see anything else?
No, sir, I did not.
You do admit that that's kind of a dangerous conduct to be doing the small kids in the car. You do admit that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's no question about that. That's a very dangerous thing.
Yes, my life was in danger as well.
Okay. But do you think her life and the kid's life be danger if you were doing the opposite?
No, sir, I don't.
You don't
Because it
think so?
didn't happen that way.
Because I'm asking you this quite hypothetically. If it were you, would her and her children's life be in danger?
No,
Let me ask you this. You said you had worked for the sheriff's department. Are you a deputy?
no, sir.
You didn't have any training as a deputy?
No, sir.
Were you administrative staff?
I was a booking clerk. I worked with booking for 20 years.
Okay. Up there at the jail?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Now, you said that she stopped somewhere like at North Street, 11th Street.
Mhm.
Are those fairly much narrow lane, or is there something in the middle where she?
There's a right lane, a left lane, and a turning lane,
Okay. So where was her car?
right in front of mine in the left lane.
Okay. And, she still had her children. Were you able to see the children after that?
I was behind
Okay.
her.
You couldn't see whether or not the children were,
No, I knew she had a gun.
oh,
I knew she had a gun.
okay, because you saw the gun in her
Yes.
wallet. And you're certain that the gun.
So what?
You saw her gun right here in her. You saw that.
Yeah, she.
So she testifies to that. That's probably true. If
I
she says
saw her,
she had.
I saw a gun.
Right. Right. And she didn't say anything. Why are you doing this? She tried to talk to you. When you were parked, when both of you were finally
She
parked, she approached your vehicle. Did she
Right.
try to talk to you?
No, the only thing she said was, do I want some of this? Or do I want some of her?
Yes,
And at this time, I'm on the phone with Beaumont PD.
right.
So I'm looking at her concentrating on her gun. At this point, I don't know what she's saying, because I was no longer paying attention to what she was saying. I was too much involved in the gun and on the phone.
Well, ma'am, does your cell phone have the capability of taking pictures?
Yes, but at the time, I dropped it on my floor, so I was not trying to get my phone to take pictures of what was going on.
What about,
I was too busy controlling my car phone to
okay,
talk to BPD.
what about when you were driving from Fannin Street? Did you try to?
My phone had fell on the floor. I was too busy trying to call from my car phone.
Okay, when did it fall on the floor?
The very first time I had to slam on my brakes at Gateway when Sean was running to the back of me.
And you couldn't get your car phone, or you couldn't go off?
No,
with your
because it
car
was in
phone?
the passenger seat floorboard.
Okay, did you ever think about actually turning into HEB in the parking lot?
No, I had already passed that parking lot. We were not at HEB. We were at Gateway
Okay.
parking lot to
what-
turn right,
Okay, but
to turn left, excuse me, to turn left. So no, it never dawned on me to turn off the highway. I was too busy trying to get away from her. And she was too busy following me and kept following me.
so you don't understand why a woman who probably has all her belongings in the car with 2 kids would be following you.
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
but you do agree that if the tables were turned, that would be considered dangerous conduct. That would probably put
No,
somebody in
no.
serious bodily injury.
No, I don't.
You don't think that it would be
Not if
serious
the tables
bodily
were
injury?
turned.
Well, no.
No, not if the tables were turned, but yes, she was
Well,
creating a deadly situation for myself. And that's the way I took it. I feared for my life.
and you won't consider whether or not that is a dangerous situation if there were 2
It was
children?
dangerous for me.
Okay.
It was dangerous for me.
But
I
you
was the
don't-
one that had the gun pointed at me, so it was dangerous for me.
Okay.
It was dangerous for me.
What about if you were,
There's no fear,
there's no if,
because I don't carry a gun,
okay?
nor do I have one in my name. I'm terrified of them.
You had no business to be chasing this woman in her car at all. Is that she was chasing you, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for this one.
Okay. Ms. Porter?
Greatly. Grew up here in Beaumont.
Yeah.
Have you lived here your entire life? Yeah, has anything like this ever happened?
Yeah.
And when you bumped on your brakes, because you had to press your brakes, was it a direct response to avoid being hit by Miss Stevens?
She was driving so fast, she was coming up on me so fast, I had no choice but to get my brakes, because when she swerved around me, she came around me so fast, and she got in front of me and hit her brakes, so I had to slam on my brakes. That's when all my stuff flew on the floorboard. I didn't have no other choice. If she had put a gun on me and I was not in my right mind, I wouldn't have been able to get to my car phone. It's no way.
And the phone was on the floor inside of
Yes.
your, and your mom was not on taking pictures at that time, was it? Taking a picture was not on your mind at that
No.
time. And when Miss Stevens initially pulled the gun out and pointed it at you, was she in her vehicle that she had control over?
Yes,
So she was in the vehicle she had control over.
yes,
Okay, and did that cause you to fear a serious bodily injury, some type of bodily injury from that?
yes,
Even death? Did you?
yes,
You fear for your life?
I did.
Okay.
God.
One more question. Are you certain at any time you couldn't have retrieved your phone when you were following that route? If you got in the right lane, you could have turned off to Jimmy John's. Is that correct?
I couldn't have, because my purse and everything, it was my purse was on the floor. And I had something else in the seat. I don't really remember what else was in the seat. But my phone, I wouldn't have been able to get my phone. That's why I was only able to, my radio sits right here, so I was only able to get to my radio car phone. I couldn't have reached over. It was quicker for me to get to my phone on the radio than it would have been to get to my handheld phone.
Okay, near Jimmy John's, isn't there kind of like a open spot? I think it was a very clear parking lot, where you could probably turn.
Well, I don't know, by that time, the light had changed. I was concentrating on getting away from her. I was thinking about turning off and parking in the parking lot, because again, I feared for my life.
Well, don't you think
If I had parked in the parking lot, she could have came in the parking lot and shot me in the parking lot.
but you would have gotten your phone, and I think that would deter it. And then there are other people that were, how much was the traffic? There was quite a bit of traffic there too.
Yeah.
Was it anybody trying to come to your aid at that time?
People were looking, and when we got to North Street,
Right.
it was just she and I at that intersection. And then the police just happened to be coming around the corner.
And the police were the only ones that saw this, but nobody
Yeah.
else did.
And if they did, I don't know.
They didn't stop or anything like that.
No.
But there were areas where you maybe could have gotten away from her if you had turned into that spot. He also has an underpass, am I correct? The train.
That's
goes through-
right there.
yeah, right there. And then
That's
you
the
go-
light had changed and I
Yes.
kept going. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes,
I kept going.
okay. So you didn't turn off on any of the other roads to get away from her? Am I-
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Ms. Porter?
No further questions for this witness.
Okay. Ms. Hawthorne? The rule has been invoked, and basically what that means is a witness, since the rule has been invoked, you are ordered to leave the courtroom and not return unless instructed to do so by the court or the bailiff. You are not to discuss this case or your testimony with other witnesses, with anyone else except the attorneys that are involved in this case. Now, any witness violating this rule can be held in contempt of court. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Your Honor, at this time, may we release Ms. Hawthorne? We do have a number to call should we need her back, but ask her that she be released to the courtroom or counsel of objection that she's going to stay in the court.
Mr. Kyle.
She works here and she's a resident of Palm Street.
I have no objection.
Okay, so you're free to go and you have a blessed day.
Yeah, we've been going for a while. We suggested a break.
Okay, we'll take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a 10-minute break at this time. You can follow when the bailiff comes back. You'll follow the bailiff in the hallway. We have some coffee and some water if anybody would like some. Okay. Everyone, please stand as the jury exits the courtroom. Please follow the bailiff into the hallway. Will be in recess.
Ron, I was trying to contact either those court or I'm supposed to have a hearing tomorrow, but I'm gonna be here to go to the still have a trial.
Yeah, we still in trial. Wonder you might maybe contact at the next break.
Sure, I'll do that.
The witnesses?
We have one for our next judge.
Oh, okay, those are students. Okay. Okay, you may be seated. Let the record reflect that the court is back in session and calls numbers M332-608 and calls number M332-610. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus a sudden surprise Stevens. Ms. Stevens is present in the courtroom with her attorney, Attorney Bruce Cobb. The state is present with Assistant District Attorney, Attorney Erica Porter, and Attorney Colby Hallfrost. Let the record also reflect that the jury is present and in the courtroom. State, are you ready?
We are, Your Honor.
Defense, are you ready?
Ready, Your Honor.
Ms. Porter, you may call your next witness.
State House Officer Hancock.
Hancock. Hey, Jeff, thank you. Officer Hancock, would you please come forward?
Yes, sir.
Officer Hancock, would you please raise your right hand? Officer Hancock, do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
You may put your hand down. Officer Hancock, you take, yes. You can take the witness stand and you could adjust the mic. And oh, we got some. Oh, they got some.
And she has some too.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Ms. Porter, you may proceed.
Could you state your full name for the record?
My name is Jeff Hancock.
Okay, how are you presently employed?
I'm currently employed as a detective with the Beaumont Police Department.
And you're a certified peace officer, or?
Yes.
How long have you been a peace officer?
22 years.
That's with Beaumont alone?
Yes.
And what are your duties?
Currently, I'm assigned to the detective division as a detective investigating crimes against persons.
You've had any special training or education?
Yes, ma'am. Over the last 22 years, we've had, we're required to do 40 hours of teaching training or classroom training every 2 years.
And on June the 7th, 2022, at approximately 10:42 a.m., were you on duty in the field on that day?
Yes, ma'am, I was on patrol.
Okay, and what area were you patrolling?
Patrol of North and the Beaumont at that time.
And was someone else on patrol with you at that time?
Yes, ma'am, I had a probationary police officer with me,
And who would that officer be?
Officer Andrew Collins.
And what time did your shift begin and end on that day?
That would begin at 6 a.m. and end at 4 p.m.
Okay, and what were your duties? On that
Routine patrol.
Were you,
Calls for service and traffic stops, pedestrian stops, that type of stuff.
and were you in uniform at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in a marked police vehicle?
Yes.
And were you driving the vehicle or were you a passenger?
I believe I was driving that day.
And did something draw your attention to a vehicle on 11th Street? a blue vehicle.
A blue vehicle? Yes, ma'am.
And what was it?
There were two vehicles stopped in the front.
Okay, and did you see anyone standing outside of the vehicle flagging you down?
Yes, ma'am. But lady in the left lane, I believe.
Okay, and do you remember what that lady's name was?
I later found out her name is Pam Hopper.
And did you approach Ms. Hawthorne?
We didn't approach, we didn't get out of the patrol car. We moved to the turning lane and pulled up beside her.
Okay, and where were you located at on 11th Street when you saw Ms. Hawthorne?
Near Calder, I believe it was either between Fannin and Calder or Calder and North, it's somewhere around that area.
Okay, and Ms. Hawthorne, was she outside of her vehicle or was she inside of her vehicle waving you down, flagging you down?
I believe she's outside the vehicle.
And when you approached the vehicle, did you get a statement from Ms. Hawthorne?
Not a statement. She just said that the lady that took off on the
Object to hearsay.
Objection sustained.
Okay, and did you, at any point after talking to Ms. Hawthorne initially, did you leave Ms. Hawthorne and proceed to travel north on 11th Street?
Yes.
And who were you in pursuit of?
The vehicle that she pointed to, that said pointed a gun at her.
Okay, and did you pull over a vehicle, that said vehicle?
Yes,
Okay, and who was the name of the individual that you pulled over?
I believe it's LaSudden Surprise, last name Stevens.
Do you recognize LaSudden Surprise Stevens in court today?
I didn't at the time until she told me her name, but once she told me her name, I've had dealings in the past with Stevens.
Do you recognize her in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
And could you identify her by just saying something that she's wearing and who she's sitting next to?
Yes, ma'am. She's the lady sitting in the chair right there with the leopard print.
Let the record reflect for the court that the officer has identified, the witness has identified.
The record will so reflect.
At any point when you made contact with Ms. Sutton, did you ask her to step out of the vehicle?
Excuse me, I think she's referring to my client, Miss Sutton.
Oh,
Ms. Stevens.
Miss Sutton,
Ms.
okay.
Stevens. Ms. Stevens, I apologize. Ms. Stevens.
Yes, ma'am. When I made contact with her, I identified myself as a police officer.
And just for clarity purposes, you were in Jefferson County, Texas, when you pulled over Ms. Stevens, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, Ms. Benoit, the State's Exhibit 2. You know what I've handed you? Do you recognize it?
So, yeah. So let's start thunder.
Okay, and does that thumb drive have video recordings? That, have you had an opportunity to view the video recordings that you have from the day in question, June the 7th, 2020?
Not from that thunder.
Okay, have you just? Did you not provide a body cam of the incident that occurred on June 7th, 2022?
If I recall correctly, at the time that that traffic stop was made, we were using WatchGuard video, WatchGuard body cameras.
Okay, and it would have been reduced to this thumb drive. Had you had an opportunity to re-watch those videos, your body cam videos?
The WatchGuard at the time when we were using them, were downloaded automatically from the patrol car and our body cameras. So I wouldn't have had an opportunity to watch it until after it was downloaded later in at the end of shift.
Okay, and were you the operator of the body cam on that day?
I had my body camera on this.
And could you identify the voices on the recording of your recording of your body cam?
I believe I can.
Okay, and did the images depict what they actually recorded on that day, fairly and accurately?
I believe so, yes.
And would you be able to identify the voices and images today?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm gonna offer what has been marked as State's Exhibit 2. And I'm gonna give it to defense counsel.
Your Honor, I believe I did observe this, that you discovered.
You have any objections? State's exhibit number 2?
No, Your Honor, I do accept the one thing. I believe there is something, and we might have to approach on it. There was I think a statement that was made by my client. And we might want to approach on that.
Okay,
Okay.
Maybe I have to do that outside the president.
right.
Okay.
Okay, just, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's a matter that has to, take place outside of your presence. So please follow the bailiff into the court, into the hallway. Everyone may be seated. Let the record reflect that the court is back in session and calls numbers M332-608 and calls number M332-610, case style state of Texas versus LaSudden Surprise Stevens. Ms. Stevens is present in the court with her attorney, Attorney Bruce Cobb. State is present with Assistant District Attorneys, Attorney Erica Porter, and Attorney Kobe Hallfire. And the jury is also present and seated in the jury box. Mr. Cobb, prior to the recess, entered an objection to State's Exhibit number 2. And Mr. Cobb, you're withdrawing that objection, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So State's Exhibit number 2 is admitted. Ms. Porter, you may proceed. You like to publish that?
Permission to publish.
Yes, you may. Okay.
And while he's getting the videos together, I just want to ask, did you have an opportunity to approach the victim, Ms. Hawthorne, at any time?
After I made contact with Ms. Stevens, I made contact with Ms. Hawthorne.
Okay.
Ran over in the floor, left on light, and she went down. I'm like, "What's wrong with the light?" Stop flashing it down, like, you know, the office, you know, this like, put down the wall. Got behind her, and she gets out the car and runs up on the window.
Yeah, I saw that.
And she had the thing right here,
And
and she raised
She raised it up.
like, this awesome, you want, I don't know, this girl never seen before. And she gave me, the phone piece.
Right.
And by there now.
Okay, and that was a caller at 11. Okay, all right, yeah, hang tight. We're gonna let you fill out a witness statement. Okay, hang tight.
And at any time, while speaking with the defendant, Ms. Stevens, was there an admission that she messed up on that day?
I object to the way the characterization of that statement.
Was there an admission given?
Objection overruled. You may proceed.
I'm sorry, I didn't get an answer.
Tell me that again, please.
Was there an admission given by Ms. Stevens that day regarding her behavior?
Yes, ma'am, there was.
Starting for.
Need you to chill out and relax. I need a phone number for somebody to come pick them up and give me a name. You understand? Does her, are you trying to go around her? Yeah. Hang on, stop. Because whatever it was, a minor traffic violation doesn't constitute you flashing a gun and running out and at Calder and 11th Street and talking to her. Because I saw you run out and get back in your car and take off.
I'm not saying I did it. I did, yes,
You screwed up.
I did, sir. Listen,
I need a phone number for your kids.
okay, 409.
At any time Did Ms. Stevens request to speak to her children? While you had her?
Yes, she did.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Both of them.
Yeah, let's see. Mama wants to talk to you.
Hey, don't cry. Hey, don't cry. Don't cry. Be strong. Don't cry. You'll be good, okay? Stop, stop down. Stop.
She's scared, she's upset.
And this is what I'll be telling y'all, when you make this, it's something you make. Yeah, you
Have
go
consequences.
back from it,
That's right.
okay?
And this is one of them.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, okay? Look, you know what happened, I just didn't mess with that lady, I was trying to go around her. And she kept swerving in front of my car, in front of us.
Okay.
It's some stuff, this is what I tell you, there's some stuff that you can't go back on. It's
Give
something,
mama a kiss.
okay?
Give your mama a kiss.
I love you, okay? Hey, do me a favor, be a big girl, do me a favor. Go get my purse, get my wallet, you know. Go,
What are you
get my
looking for?
wallet. Go get my wallet.
And at any point, did you have to search Ms. Hawthorne's vehicle? Or was a search conducted on Ms. Hawthorne's vehicle?
I asked Ms. Stevens to step from the vehicle after initial contact. When she stepped out of the vehicle, I observed a bullet in the floorboard of the vehicle.
And when you observed that vehicle, you're speaking about Ms. Stevens' vehicle.
Yes.
So Ms. Hawthorne was the victim. At any point, did you search Ms. Hawthorne's vehicle?
Yes, I searched her vehicle as well.
Did you start it at 13, please?
Get that, I do.
And you would have got what for
Are you armed? Are you armed? Just to verify.
Was a weapon found at all at Mrs. Hawthorne's vehicle?
I'm sorry.
Was a weapon found at all in Pamela Hawthorne's vehicle?
And then there was
But was a weapon indeed found in LaSutton Stevens' vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, there was
And what was the weapon found?
a Ruger, a small 22 Ruger pistol.
Okay, and where was it found?
Believe as I was at the trunk of the vehicle, my partner, Officer Collins, was at the passenger side at the back door. And as I was getting ready to raise the trunk, he told me that he could see the pistol from where he was standing.
And what did you notice on the floor of Miss Sutton's vehicle?
When I initially made contact with her and had her step from the vehicle, I observed the bullet on the floorboard.
Can you just mark the state's exhibit 1 and the contents there? You recognize what I'm saying, would you to look?
Looks like it's a Ruger pistol.
And the contents therein as well. Okay, and how do you recognize this?
If you close the box. This is our evidence tape. Marked with our case numbers right here on the side. Fill in the contents of the box.
And is it you aware that it has been tampered with in any way since it was taken into custody?
I know it's been manipulated since we put it in property because it goes to the crime lab and they have to take it out of the original packaging to put it in the box.
Okay, and what manipulation would have occurred?
Just transferring it from the large manila envelope in there to the box itself to secure it, to keep it from sliding around.
And you have experience in firearms, do you not? Could you tell me a little bit about your experience?
So, growing up, I've always been around guns. I've been a cop for 22 years, so we qualify quarterly, and sometimes I shoot more than that, just for simple fact, to keep it up.
Okay, and this would be labeled as 1A and 1B. Do you recognize these two?
1B, I believe, let me see. This is the original packaging that we put the gun in the magazine in. I know that this is my partner's initials and the date that he put it in. The reason I know that is because he was in his shadow phaser training. So I was teaching him how to enter properly.
Okay, and you would also recognize 1. Okay.
Yes, again, his initials and the date and our case number, and then the tag on it says 5.22 caliber live rounds. And they're kept separate from the original packaging the gun was in.
And that's the same gun that was retrieved from Ms. Stevens' vehicle on June 2nd, 2022. Is that the same gun and ammunition that was retrieved from Ms. Stevens'
Yes.
vehicle? How did this exhibit get here today, the gun as well as the ammunition?
I signed it out of property to work at the trial.
And explain to me what that process is.
Once it's been entered into property, the property girls handle it, they'll get it where it needs to be, or they'll take it out of the original packaging to secure it in the box and then seal it. I picked it up from property this morning, signed it out, here at chain of custody paper to bring it to court.
Was it sealed when we brought it to court?
Yes, ma'am, the box was sealed when I brought it to court.
I'm gonna offer for this been mark that states exhibit 1 and the contents thereof, including 1A and 1B.
You're not gonna make, yeah, sure. Well, I don't really think I have an objection to this, but I would like to ask the detectives some questions.
You like to take the witness on board, Ira?
Yeah, sure.
Then you may proceed.
Okay.
We have some gloves here if you need some. Right here.
So, okay. One minute, officer, I'm at detective, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I was an officer at the time.
no problem. I'm gonna point out, I think was this in the same state as you found it?
No, initially, the gun was not out of battery.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to make.
So
Okay,
the way this is packaged, this is a magazine.
right,
Okay. When Officer Collins removed the pistol from the vehicle,
right.
he ejected the magazine, of course, and then took it out of battery, meaning he moved the slide back. We did, a round came out. So when we logged this into property, this white tie right here,
Right.
to secure this weapon, we put it through the chamber and then out the magazine well and tie it down. That prevents the slide from coming to the battery for it being used.
Okay, so that's the methodology you use to be able to
Yes.
secure the weapon.
Yeah.
These are,
No, that doesn't go in there.
Your Honor, I'm gonna hand this back to the state. I think I'm pretty much concluded.
You have no questions? You have any objections?
No, Your Honor, I don't have any objections as to that. I was just
Okay.
looking, checking to see, because it looks like I was not aware of the reason why the weapon was out of battery. rather than
Okay.
In battery.
No objections. States exhibit number 1 is admitted?
Permission to publish to the jury.
Yes.
This will be available to look at later. So Stacy exhibit number 1, is that a firearm?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it considered a deadly weapon?
Yes, it is.
And can it kill a person?
Yes, it can.
Now, was Miss LaSutton Stevens charged at that time on June 7, 2022, around 10:42?
She was arrested for UCW, unlawful carrying of a weapon and deadly conduct because she exhibited a weapon.
Okay, and what made the determination to arrest her for that? Those,
Based on the statement that I received from Ms. Hoffman. And what we initially brought our attention to the whole scene. I believe that Ms. Stevens had in fact found Hoffman a weapon.
so it was your belief that she was carrying a weapon in her vehicle
Yes, ma'am.
and she was committing a crime when she had the weapon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it happened in Jefferson County, Texas,
Yes, that's correct.
and the vehicle was under Ms. Stevens' control?
Yes, ma'am. She was the adult in the driver's seat.
Okay. And you also believe that her behavior placed Ms. Hawthorne in fear of serious bodily injury
Yes, ma'am.
or imminent danger?
Yes, ma'am.
At any time, did you explain the reasons for your arrest to Ms. Stevens?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
That legal information. Okay. VIN number, license plate, all her information, phone number. And we need to fill out child custody releases for both of them. Okay? Yeah, when Crystal gets here, we'll talk to her about it. Okay, when Crystal gets here, we'll talk to her about it. How many conversations we had? This one, a lot. I'm listening. I am an open book. Okay, which
So what am I charged with?
UCW. That's a long carrying weapon. Okay,
But I just told me all this. Okay.
you're carrying it, there's no holster, and you used it in the commission of another crime.
Yeah,
Deadly conduct. Okay? Because you flashed it at her. All right? A road rage incident does not constitute deadly force. Or even a display of deadly force.
Yes,
Okay? Do we understand that? Okay. This whole incident is unfortunate because your kids are involved. And that really upsets me more than anything. Okay?
It don't affect me. It don't-
I hope you learn from this. I mean,
I don't, like I said,
what happened? Y'all get kicked out of the house over on, down there? Or y'all moved and,
you didn't get kicked out.
you moved?
Can we replay that for under the doctrine of optional completeness of the rule 1007?
I just stopped it for judicial efficiency.
I mean, it's all in the evidence.
It's
I
all
mean,
in the same-
yeah. Yeah. Okay, objection overruled. You may proceed.
Did you wait for Ms. Stevens' children to be picked up by a relative or friend?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it's her mother, Ms. Wheeler.
And after Ms. Wheeler, or whomever picked the children up, did you take Ms. Stevens to the county jail?
Yes, ma'am, did.
Without any other incident?
Correct.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Cobb, you may proceed.
Thank you. Detective, you made a statement before when you hit it, right? Am I correct?
A statement.
Written statement.
Did I fill out a witness statement?
Yes.
I completed the report, yes.
Is witness, okay.
That's been previously provided in the, to our discovery report.
I agree.
I'm still later.
Thank you. This time, detective, you were training Officer Collins because he was a rookie, you might say.
Yes.
Okay. A little bit of training day for him.
Yes.
Kind of a little bit of excitement too. Did you know Miss Hawthorne before this incident at all?
I didn't recognize her when initially we made contact with her in the roadway, but once, Ms. Stevens was stopped and I made contact with the other driver, I realized who it was.
Okay, thank you. You went up to Miss Stevens' vehicle and you noticed that she had the kids in the car, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Also, did you notice anything else about the car?
As far as,
Did it have, items in it like appeared that she was moving?
yes, her trunk was full, yes, sir.
Right, and did she tell you that she was moving to another location at the time?
I believe that she said she was staying at that hotel that we told in her home, Louisiana.
Did she tell you that she was going to Sour Lake?
Going to sign what?
Sour Lake.
I don't remember.
You don't remember if it was Sour Lake and all that?
No, sir.
Did she appear that she was in the process of traveling somewhere?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I might like to ask you too, I heard what you had said there, but road rage leads to unfortunate consequences. Is that what you experienced?
Yes.
Even deadly conduct?
Yes.
Okay, and you don't have to necessarily have a firearm for that to occur, am I correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. You could run right into somebody in the driver's side of the car.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that does sometimes happen. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if a person starts tailgating somebody, well, it notices, hey, should notice that somebody has children in the back. Isn't that a serious possibility of a serious injury?
Yes, sir.
An injury to a child is,
If they're not seatbelted in, yes, sir.
right, but things could happen. Maybe the bump could get a little bit worse.
Yes, sir.
And if somebody pulls up beside a car and starts, sometimes that's when the trouble starts.
Yes, sir.
And if that person pulls up and pulls in front, and then all of a sudden applies their brakes and makes the other car have to apply their brake, that could be a dangerous situation for both cars,
Yes, sir.
depending upon that. You could probably go right through the steering wheel too.
Yes, sir.
That leads to serious bodily injury as well.
Yes, sir.
So, what we're dealing with, I understand road rage doesn't always justify the use of a firearm, but this incident, if you're the victim of road rage, you could be facing serious bodily injury. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I have nothing further to witness.
Okay,
I have no further questions.
you don't, no further questions? Deputy Hancock, the rule has been invoked, and as a witness, you are ordered to leave the courtroom and do not enter unless otherwise instructed by the court or the bailiff. You're not to discuss this case or your testimony with other witnesses or anyone else except your attorneys in this case. You're not to read any reports or comments on the testimony of other witnesses in this case. Now, if you violate this rule, you're subject to being held in contempt of court. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. I do.
Now, may this witness be excused?
Please, can they be excused to go back to work, Your Honor? We do have a cell phone, should he need to be recalled for rebuttal or for any other.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
okay. Detective Hancock, you're free to go. And you have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Porter, you can call your next witness.
Officer Collins, please, that's the state's next witness.
Officer Collins. Officer Collins, you may come forward. Officer Collins, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may put your hand down, Officer Collins. You may take the witness stand, take the chair, and you could adjust the mic. Attorney Porter, you may proceed.
Could you say your name for the record, please?
Officer Collins,
Full name, brother.
Riley Collins.
Officer Collins, are you a peace officer?
Yes,
And how long have you been a certified peace officer?
only 2 years.
Okay, and did you take any specialized training or a particular education to become a police officer?
Yeah, Beaumont PD hired me in July of 2021, put me through the academy, then was sworn in December of 2021.
Okay, and you've been working for Beaumont PD since 2021?
Correct.
Okay, so in 2022, June the 7th, around 10:42 a.m., what were your duties? What were you assigned to on that?
I was on patrol,
With,
Officer Hancock.
and you were driving the patrol vehicle at that time?
No, ma'am, I believe I was a passenger during that time.
And where were you assigned to? What area of Beaumont?
So for us, it was the D, 1D, Beaumont, so it was the area between I-10 to Hollywood Street. Considered the north end of Beaumont. We were in the north end,
Okay, and how long were your shifts typically?
typically 10 hours.
And what was your shift that day?
It was 6 a.m. to 1600 hours, 4 p.m.
And where were you traveling around 10:48?
We were going northbound on 11th Street towards I-10 to go to another call.
And you were headed to another call, you said?
Correct.
And why did you not make it to that other call?
We were alerted to some commotion that was in front of us in the middle of 11th Street near Culver.
And was this in Jefferson County, Texas?
Correct.
And how were you alerted to a commotion?
So I could see a couple cars. There were, I believe it was north and 11th Street. And there was 2 cars side by side. It looked like someone was outside of their car, which was, unusual at a busy intersection. So it just kind of drew my attention.
And did you pull over when you saw someone that appeared to be outside?
Officer Hancock did whenever he got up to the intersection.
Did you exit your vehicle at all at that time?
I remember exiting right there. It was a little bit later down the road.
Did you stay at that location or did y'all speed off soon after you stopped?
Soon after that spot on 11th Street, we sped off
And why was that?
to pursue a potential actor vehicle.
And who's the driver of that vehicle?
Later, we learned it was Sutton Stevens.
Do you see LaSutton Stevens in court today?
I did.
Could you just point to LaSutton Stevens and identify her by saying what she's wearing, the article code, and who she's sitting next to?
Yes, Miss Sutton Stevens in the brown, white tank top.
And for the record, Your Honor, the witness has identified the defendant.
The record was so flat.
When Officer Hawthorne and yourself pulled over Miss Stevens, immediately did you exit your vehicle?
Yes,
And did you approach Miss Stevens' vehicle?
yes, we did.
Okay, how many passengers did you notice that were inside of Miss Stevens' vehicle?
So from outside, I wasn't sure, but whenever I got up to the rear passenger door, there were 2 children in the back, and at least, just the driver in the front that I can tell.
I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 3. For your videos, body cam, dash cam. Okay, what is it? What about him?
I'm sorry.
What is this that I've shown you that has been marked as State's Exhibit 3? Okay, and have you listened to or had an opportunity to go back and view your video evidence?
Not my own video, I have not.
Okay, were you the operator on that day, June 7, 2022?
Of my body worn camera, yes.
And is the recording an accurate copy of the conversation and statement that took place?
It will be.
And do the images and events contained in the recording fairly and accurately depict and reflect what was shown on June 7, 2022?
Yes,
And has the recording been altered based on your knowledge in any way, shape, or form?
No.
And could you identify the images and voices on this recording?
yes.
You can offer what has been marked as State's Exhibit 3 and tend to defense.
No objection.
No objection, section number 3, is admitted,
Permission to publish.
you may publish it.
So at any time, did you have the opportunity to retrieve a gun from Ms. Stevens' vehicle?
Yes.
Please, 220.
Just tell me, the fake is, you okay? You all right? Okay. What's going on? Nothing happened? Does she, do you know her? Does she know your mama? No, y'all just driving? Okay, okay. Y'all sit tight, all right? Now I'm gonna sit right here with you, okay? Your mom is okay. Where are y'all going? They're going to this hotel right here? Is that what y'all saying? Oh, you gotta find a new house. Is there anything in the car that's bad? Any kind of, is there any guns or anything? No?
Just stop for a second.
Okay,
Now, you originally asked the children were there any guns in the car, right?
Right.
And the response was no.
correct.
Okay, please.
So what'd your mama do whenever the lady talked to her? Okay, okay, that's all that happened. Okay, what's your name? Kaylee, what's your name? What? Katie, Katie and Kaylee. My name's Officer Collins. Y'all can just call me Riley. Two little kids in the back. Say about your brother, okay? Kaylee, where is it? In the trunk?
Stop for a second. So at this point, did the versions change of the children and you realized there was a gun inside of you?
Yes.
Where'd you put it in the trunk, Kaylee? Under your bag? Okay. Which bag? Just tell me. The flower one? I got it. It's pointing towards you.
So at that time, was the gun, did you discover that the gun was loaded?
Yes, it was loaded.
Okay, so there was a bullet around in the chamber.
One in the chamber and a few in the magazine.
Okay, and based on this, your video recording, the child was handed a gun, and she placed it in the trunk.
Right.
A loaded gun, correct?
Yes.
Keep,
She's right there. That's her. No, it's 22. Run it. Yes, sir. No, sir. Information run out. We'll talk about. Yes, sir.
So did you secure the gun?
Yes, sir.
And where did you place the gun after you retrieved it from this Stevens vehicle?
After I ran it through dispatch, it was locked into our car.
Okay, when you ran it through dispatch, was it discovered to be stolen?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to object to that being a extraneous offense, the gun being stolen, or possession of a stolen gun. In the accused, she's never been accused of having that, and that does, I would ask the jury to disregard.
Okay. Objection sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, of the jury, I'm gonna ask that you disregard the statement that was last made by the witness. Well, the question and the answer to that statement.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm ask the jury to be excused.
That's denied.
Okay. Well.
Okay. Get your, yes, sir. Thank you. I haven't ran her yet. They had to come. Yes, sir. I haven't ran her yet. Man, what's the deal? She pulled on the side.
Right.
Okay, okay.
It's okay to follow.
You have no idea who that is?
I've never seen it before in my life. No relations. Yeah, no relations.
You're driving north here on 11.
Right. And she followed down the gateway up until Johnson.
Gateway. Where were we at? Was that north?
Right.
Gateway.
Right.
So she was tailgating you.
Right. And when I got out of the way, she was on the side of me and made it down, I left my window downstairs and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Then she pulled the gun out, and from that point, from the gun, perspective, she found me out.
So, when she pulled the gun out, what disappointed at you or while y'all were sitting next to each other?
Before we even got there, as she was riding along,
Yes.
she was putting it down, and then when she stopped, she got out the phone.
She got out of the car? Where'd she go? And she pointed at that.
It's put it right here, like, kind of information, and she raised it up, and we got up, she had kind of like a bumper like a intersection, a red light, and jump out of the front, and jump to my front legs, if I wanted to.
Okay, so she showed it to you or she pulled it out and pointed it at you? She pointed at you. Okay, I see this.
So ultimately, Ms. Stevens was charged, well, arrested for deadly conduct and unlawful carrying a weapon, right?
Correct.
Okay, and who made that determination?
It would have been Officer Hancock.
And based on your observation, did Ms. Stevens carry a weapon in her vehicle on June 7, 2022?
Yes,
And was the vehicle under her control at the time?
yes, it was.
Okay, and did she place this firearm in fear of serious injury, bodily injury, or imminent danger?
Yes,
by pointing a gun at her.
That is correct.
And did you transport Ms. Stevens to the jail? Jefferson County Jail?
Me and Officer Hancock did.
Was it without any further incident? Pass it.
Mr. Cobb?
Also, I believe that you submitted this statement that was used as the affidavit for that. You did that, you all correct that? Okay. I wanted to ask. Do you know whether or not the statement mentions that there were children in the car?
I did not remember.
Don't remember. Can I approach with you?
Yes, you may.
I'm gonna hand you what has been, that your, arrest warrant, do you remember it?
Read this, or are you asking me if I
You could,
remember?
you could read it if you wish.
No objection for reading is really showing, Judge, this is a problem. This is a warrant. What are we looking at?
I'm just saying that the statement has a number of omissions, particularly, it doesn't even mention anything about the children.
Okay, there's no statement. A probable cause affidavit is not a statement. That's an offering report.
Now,
Affidavit.
are you trying to refresh his recollection?
I'm trying to make the point that, the children, the existence of the children.
Oh, well,
that were mentioned.
I mean, he can, if you're trying to refresh his recollection, he's allowed to
Sure.
just read it to himself. If-
Read directly.
Hey, you're right.
Okay. I will-
He could, and then you could follow up once he finished reading it.
Sure, go ahead.
You can ask some questions.
Yes, sir.
What is the question?
Okay, the question was, were children mentioned in the report?
Yes, sir, there were.
Well, in this one,
This is the probable cause affidavit.
right, they weren't mentioned, in your other report, you did mention children, right?
In my
But you
report,
didn't mention it in the arrest warrant,
that is correct.
okay. When the vehicle stopped, at any time, was Miss Stevens, did anybody draw down on her? Did you all approach the vehicle with your weapons or no?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and this was just done as precaution, or
Yes.
you didn't intend to shoot Miss Stevens, did you?
No.
Okay. Did Miss Stevens try to tell you what happened?
Not
To your memory, not to you, to Detective Hancock?
I do not remember.
Okay. Did, you all recall whether or not Miss Stevens told you, at least here, I think one of the kids tried to tell you that, some lady tried to say ugly things to her mother. You recall that?
I do not.
Okay. The video?
Other than the video, I do not
Okay,
recall.
okay, so if she said that there was a problem and that the other lady was chasing her, that would have to be mentioned at all. You don't recall that?
I do not.
Okay. You recall whether or not, that was mentioned to Officer Hawthorne?
Officer Hancock, no, sir.
Hancock, you know? That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Mrs. Porter?
No other questions for this witness.
Okay.
Maybe released as well, subject to, we need him, we'll call him, we have his cell phone.
You have any objections, Mr. Cobb? Okay. Officer Collins, the rule has been invoked. And since the rule has been invoked, you are ordered to leave the courtroom and not talk to any other witnesses in this case. You're instructed not to talk to anyone about the case unless it's the attorneys. You cannot enter the courtroom unless you're instructed to do so by the bailiff or by the court. Now, if you violate any one of this instruction, you could be held in contempt of court. And also you should not read any reports and you should not discuss any testimony, your testimony or anybody else's testimony. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay. Officer, you're excused and you have a blessed day. Attorney Porter, you can call your next witness.
Statement.
Defense,
Your Honor, we could have a hearing out of the presence of the jury.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm gonna ask that you follow the bailiff to the hallway. Let the record reflect that the jury How long have we gone? Do we need to take a break? How long have we been going? Stop them at the door.
We stopped at 3.
We came back about, it was just about 3, close to 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've been going.
So we did about an hour, right? So let's take a 10-minute break. Let them know we're gonna take a 10-minute break.
10-minute break.
Sure, try to make a phone call.
Yes, you can do that. Yeah, you may be seated.
Yeah, quickly before we're gonna clarify on states exhibit number 1A and 1B, we'll make sure
Okay,
that we've offered those and the contents therein, which include 1A and 1B. And they've been both been admitted. We'll make sure that that's been done.
you had any objections? I mean, I said it was stage 1, but it was stage 1A and B, is that correct?
Stage 1, and then included in there is stage 1A and 1B.
We have no objection to the number of the exhibits.
Okay, no objection, stage 1A and stage 1B are admitted.
Thank you.
State has rested, is that correct?
The state has rested.
And Mr. Cobb,
Yes, Your Honor. We call the defendant, Ms. Stevens, to the stand.
Stevens, would you please come forward so I can swear you in? Ms. Stevens, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Stevens, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Ms. Stevens, the bailiff is going to change the mic cover. You can have a seat in the jury box, on the witness stand. And allow the bailiff to change the mic cover. Mr. Cobb, you may proceed.
Thank you. You state your name for the record, please. And you reside in Jefferson County? Okay. And did you reside, were residing in Jefferson County on June 7th?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Can you please tell the jury what happened that day?
On that day, I had just checked out the museum. I was going to South Park to pick something up, but I remember that I left my shoes in the motel room. And so I turn around, I'm heading back. We around Jimmy John rent-a-car. It was a car in front of the lady, and she was still getting that car so much that I couldn't see that car in front of her. When that car turned to go into Rent-A-Center, she went with that car. She turned with that car. So I proceeded to go straight. When she noticed like, hey, this is not where I wanna go, she came back into the lane, almost hit me. I jerked over. Once I got around her, I got to the light, I stopped. She came around my vehicle to the right side of me. She said, hey, let your window down, let your window down. I let the window down. She started cursing me out.
Objection, Your Honor, the witnesses testifying in narrative form.
Objection sustained.
Okay, just let me go ahead and do it in parts, okay? You went to you were there at Jimmy John's, and then you encountered the complaining witness.
Correct.
Had you ever known her before?
Never known her before.
Then you were saying that, to get back to your prior statement, what happened when you left Jimmy John's? You were passing Jimmy John's. What happened then?
When I got to the light, when I approached the light, on the left lane, she's in the right. She asked me to let my window down. I let my window down. She said, she started threatening me, cursing me. She said, Dad, I said, okay, I cut you off, I apologize. I let my window back up, I say, ma'am, have a good day. Let my window back up, wait on the light to change. We went up under the underpass. As we was coming up under the underpass, she proceeded to get over in my lane. Okay,
Yes,
I went around.
okay. You went under the underpass and then what happened there? It was, she proceeded to get in your lane, then
I'm thinking I'm deleting.
Objection overruled.
She proceeded to get in my lane like, she was in the right, I was in the left. She got over on me, well, the tail of her car, if I wouldn't have got over or jabbed out the way, she would have hit the front of my car. So I got over in the yellow lane. Then when she got straight in the, no, I got in the right lane. When she got straight in the left lane, I got straight in the right lane. She proceeded to try to sideswipe me. I got back in the left lane. So she was going around, we was going around each other. When we got to Liberty and 11th Street, she's searching in her car, like, this is after the fact she have already threatened me.
okay,
She's looking for something in her car.
okay, then what happened after you passed Liberty?
After we pass Liberty, I see officers park their checkers to the right of me. I wait on the light. When you catch one light green, you catch all of them green. I wait on the light to turn yellow.
Right,
I stopped at a green light. I wait on the light to turn yellow, and then I proceeded to draw attention.
why did you do that? And
Because she was road raging me with my kids in the car.
and were you concerned about that?
Very.
Right, how old were your kids at that time?
At that time, my kids was 8 and 9.
What else did you have in the car besides your kids?
I'm a young,
Do you have any reason to be a road rage with her?
and I was already had a lot on my mind.
What was your state of mind when that took place?
I was trying to figure things out.
Did that scare you? Were you scared?
Yes, sir.
What were you afraid of most?
Pretty sure. And I'm already trying to figure things out. And this lady messing with me. I'm trying not to get mad. I'm trying. And my kids in the car, my son telling me, Mama, don't get mad. Don't get mad. Just go on. Just go get your shoes from the motel so we can go look for the house. Don't get mad. And the whole time I got my kids talking to me, my mind already rumbling. I'm out of money. I don't know. I got a child at school. I got 2 in the back.
Objections, the witness is testifying in narrative again. Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
Just take a deep breath and tell the jury exactly what happened after your kids told you that.
After my son say, Mama, don't get mad, don't get mad. I said, baby, I'm fine. Like I said, I ran the yellow light to draw attention, cause I seen the police park their checkers facing the street. I ran the yellow light to draw attention. By the time we got to Jack in the Box, because I had waited on, because I let the light turn yellow and catch me, I knew that the light ahead of me at North and 11th Street was gonna catch us.
And what happened then?
While we sitting at the light, she bumped the back of my car. She run with her engine. She tapped the back of my car.
How many times did she tap the back of your car?
One,
Did that make you concerned?
yes, it is.
Why?
It made me concerned because I had my kids in the car. My mom was already running. And this lady then already threatening me. That's when we was at the light of Fannin, and 11th Street, she threatened me.
Okay, what did she tell you?
Said,
Judge Young, hearsay.
Objection overruled.
What did she say?
she told me, she said, I shoot your car up, I'll whoop your. And I let the window up because there's negativity. I don't have time for it. I'm thinking, ma'am, you got a whole house to go to. I'm sleeping in my car with 3 kids with no money for a room.
Okay, then as soon as you tried to get away, then what happened?
She followed me.
Okay? At some point, did you have to pull over and stop?
I couldn't because checkout time was 11 o'clock. It was 10:40.
Oh.
And once housekeeping clean the room, they throw away your things. I'm trying to go back to the room mid-town and get my shoes out the room before the housekeeper throw them away.
And you didn't get to mid-count, did you?
I mean, I didn't get a chance to, no, I didn't, no.
Well, where did you finally stop? You remember?
Every time, just when I was gonna make the little, that's when the police pulled me over.
Okay. Was there a point where you had to approach her vehicle? Did you approach her vehicle at all?
After she tapped the back of my car, well, I never, no. On my way to her car,
Yes.
that's when I seen the police turn onto 11th Street.
Right.
I went back to my vehicle and I left.
Okay. Why?
Because I felt secure. I felt like, okay, I don't have to deal with this situation. Let them deal with it.
Right. Do you think they might have observed something that would cause them to stop her?
Then that she stayed there, parked in the middle of the street.
Okay. And you didn't see any reason to stay.
No, I did not.
You heard her testimony to say that you pointed a gun at her.
I never pointed at him.
Well, what did you do?
I had it took, cause I'm not gonna go deal with a problematic situation unarmed, especially when somebody has already threatened me.
Did she see the gun at all? Do you know if she saw the gun?
She saw it,
Did you tuck it in your pants?
it stayed took.
Right, you didn't try to pull it out and wave it at her.
I did not, no, I didn't.
And you had a reason why you didn't do that. What was that reason?
Because she never,
Your Honor.
So objection sustained.
because she never showed
Check
me.
the leading, Your Honor, and that means that you shouldn't answer. But
Okay, objection is sustained when you can't respond to his question. He has to ask you another question.
Okay,
I'll rephrase it.
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor. What was going through your mind at that time?
At which time?
At the time after you approached the lady?
I never got a chance to approach her.
Okay,
I never got a chance to go to her car. When I got out of my car, I
right,
closed the door.
right,
When I got out of my car, I closed the door. By the time I got to the back of my car, at the very end of my car, that's when I seen the police turn onto, they made a right off of Carter onto 11th Street, coming our direction. So I went back to my car.
right.
By the time I sit down in my car, the light turned green. So I blend in with, I left with the other traffic.
So where was the gun?
In my thing, and like, on me,
Okay,
it was not out.
okay. Then you started going down the street
Yes,
next,
sir.
11th. That's what happened next? Can you just briefly tell what happened next?
I mean, by the time I got to Louisiana in 11th Street, I made the left. And the police came behind me and they cut on their lights, on their emergency lights. I stopped the vehicle, I turned it off. And I kept my hands on the steering wheel.
What did the police officers do?
I was watching them in my rearview mirror. They stopped at the corner and they immediately got out and they both was drew, like they both had their guns drew at my vehicle.
How did that make you feel?
Not for me, but for my kids.
Then what happened next?
I could hear them, they call my name. They say, Lasagna Stevens, get out the vehicle, get out the vehicle.
And
Yes.
what did you do?
I opened the door, I showed both of my hands,
Right,
and I stepped out the vehicle. And when Officer Hancock, approached me, he asked me, where's the gun, where's the gun?
no. At that point, what did you tell them?
At first I denied it. And I told him I didn't have it.
And did you ever correct that statement? Okay, what
Yes.
did you tell them afterwards?
When he approached me, he said, where the gun? I said, I denied it. I said, I don't have one. And then he said, where's the gun? I said, if you let me call somebody for my kids, I'll tell you where it's at.
You did admit that you had it.
Yes, I did.
Okay, at that point, you didn't deny that you had the gun.
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you tell Officer Hancock the story of what happened?
No, I couldn't.
Why?
He never gave me a chance to tell my side of the story.
Okay. And, do you have any idea why?
I feel like because they already had the evidence, they needed to make the arrest they needed to make. And I don't fault them, that's their job. It's just the fact that they took her word over mine. They never asked, well, why did you feel like you needed to approach her vehicle? What's the reason of all this? What's the reason of this road rage? They never asked me, I felt like they didn't care.
Well, what was the reason for that road rage?
a misunderstanding. I don't. Like I said, she approached me first.
Well, your safety, how did you feel about that?
What safety?
Okay, back up, when, at the time, from Jimmy John's to the time you were, stopped over there in North Street. How did you feel about your safety?
I felt like I was unsafe. I felt like I was put in a position to defend myself.
Because of the. Why?
Because here it is, I have a lady that's following me that I have I mean, yes, I could have pulled over, she could have too, to apprehend the situation. But here it is, a woman has threatening me. Now we at liberty, she act like she's searching for something in her vehicle in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
She's still tailgating me, and now here it is, we at North, and I have ran the light to draw attention. Now we at North and 11th Street, she bumped my vehicle with her vehicle. So at this point, now I feel like, okay, let's talk.
Did you try to talk to her?
Yes, I did, but I didn't get to her vehicle before the police came.
Was there a reason why you couldn't stay there and talk to the police then?
No,
You felt that the situation,
Leading judge. Direct examination, he's gotta ask questions and she answers, not ask her just right, yes. It's just.
I didn't even finish asking the question.
Okay,
We placed.
We get a-
okay, we're gonna deny your objection, let him ask the question first,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
then
Was there another reason why you had to go up 11th Street?
yes, to get to the room before the housekeeping, throw my shoes away. I'm already homeless, not trying to be shoeless too. That was my whole motive of turning around, coming back down 11th Street.
And all you were concerned about was your kids, right?
The safety of my kids, yes, I was.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Attorney Porter.
Miss Sutton Stevens. Okay, you never called 911 yourself on June the 7th, 2022, correct? You didn't take a photo, everybody has camera phones, you didn't take any pictures or anything of this incident, right?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay, you mentioned over and over again that of the safety of your children. Were you thinking about the safety of your children when you handed your daughter a loaded gun?
I did not hand her a gun.
Were you thinking about the safety of your children when you decided to get outside of your vehicle and approach someone else's vehicle with the gun?
Yes, I was.
How? How so?
Because if she did have her gun in her vehicle, I'm thinking like this, if she did have a gun in her vehicle, after she has already threatened to shoot up my vehicle, I'd rather for them bullets to hit me than my car.
Okay, but what made you approach this lady anyway, if you say she's threatening? What made you exit your vehicle and go to her vehicle?
because she bought my car with her car. And not only that, she's following me
And you said that she was looking for something inside of her vehicle.
at Liberty and 11th Street.
Okay, but you realize the police officer searched her vehicle thoroughly and found no weapon or anything.
But that's on, correct, yes, ma'am.
And you realize that the police officer searched your vehicle and found a loaded gun, right?
I'm sleeping in a motel with my 3 kids.
Please instruct the witness to just answer the question that's asked, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay, Ms. Sutton, just please,
Excuse me, Your Honor, Stevens.
okay, Ms. Sutton, Ms. Stevens, just please answer the questions that's asked.
yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed.
You said several times in your direct that you were trying to draw attention to the police officers, right?
Correct.
When you got the attention from the police officers, why did you zoom away?
Because I felt like I needed to go. I needed to go get my shoes. And I, like I said, let them deal with this situation.
You want the jury and this court to believe that you felt like your shoes were more important than talking to the police officer that you were trying to flag down and getting attention from, right?
Yes, ma'am. When I was trying to get their attention, I couldn't get it. They parked their checkers.
When your son was constant, you said on direct, your son was telling you to stay calm, be calm, mom, don't get mad, right?
Right,
He said that because he's seen you get mad before, isn't that correct?
correct.
And you can admit to the jury that you have an anger management problem, isn't that right?
No,
Said you apologized to Ms. Hawthorne, isn't that right? You said that on direct.
I never talked to her. I didn't apologize to her. I apologized to my kids that I put them, I'm leaving them again, going back to jail.
No. On direct, you said that you apologized to Ms. Hawthorne, said, I'm sorry, I apologize. Based on the road rage conversation that you had with Ms. Hawthorne, isn't that right?
Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. You apologize, but you still decide to exit your vehicle with a loaded weapon and approach Ms. Hawthorne, isn't that right?
I apologized to her to try to calm her down because this lady has threatened me, called me out my name and expect for me to stay calm.
You're saying Ms. Hawthorne threatened you while each of you were in separate vehicles, isn't that right?
Correct.
Yet, you're threatened by her. You still decide to exit your vehicle and approach her vehicle with a loaded gun, right?
Correct.
And you said that the police made you fearful when they had guns drawn out at you, when they pulled you over, right?
Correct.
But don't you think you made Ms. Hawthorne fearful when you had a gun pointed at her as well?
I never pointed my gun at her.
Pass the witness.
Attorney Cobb,
Your Honor, I'm going to go ahead and I have no further questions.
okay. Okay. Ms. Stevens, you may step down. And Stevens, the rule has been invoked. That simply means that you cannot talk to any other witnesses about your testimony, and you cannot read any reports regarding your testimony other than talk to your attorney about your testimony. If you violate this rule, you can be held in contempt of court.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can have a seat.
Your Honor, the defense calls Kaylee Stevens to the stand.
Okay. Hold on a minute. I'd like to approach. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, could you follow the bailiff out into the hallway for a few minutes?